Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, fellow speakers, fellow bankers, friends, ladies and gentlemen. It's a pleasure and privilege for me to welcome you all for an interesting and exciting theme, projects and contracts, opportunities and challenges. We're in a defining moment, as you could see. Qatar itself is setting a new pace of progress and prosperity. A couple of days before, IMF, International Monetary Fund, has concluded the spring meeting in Washington. It's revealing for us to see, finally, world at large is setting a new momentum. The global growth is getting reset. Gone are the days where technical recession, the liquidity crisis has turned into a funding crisis. Funding crisis has become sovereign crisis and solvency crisis. G7 has become G8, G8 has become G20, world at large. Recognizing the opportunity, financial economies are converting as real. Real economies are redefining the scope and performance. Socialism is setting the form and substance with free market principles. Capitalism is protecting the consumers. Mixed economies are redefining their scope and performance again. Commodity-driven economies, financially stable, but geopolitical makeup is telling story for everyone to see, where we have maximum 45% of the world oil, 20-25% of the world gas comes from this region. It's a flashpoint for everyone to see through. World at large has gone through extraordinary vibration. After 1930 recession, today we are cautiously optimistic in redefining the space. Universal standard in terms of accounting, valuation, securitizations are all new world order. You have seen for years, consumerism has been redefined. Globalization and global governance has been redefined. Deregulation has become re-regulation. The world at large is becoming a knowledge society. With this changing face of the world, changing face of the financial service, we are looking at the new world order with cautious optimism. If you look at the IMF prediction, the projected growth for the year 2014 is 3.6%, possibly 3.9% next year. Advanced economies, which were grossly underperforming, is consolidating in terms of fiscal prudence. 2.2% has been the new indicators. It might move to 2.3. Looking at the breakdowns, United States, single largest economy in the world today, should be doing 2.8%, next year possibly 3%. Housing market is recovering. QE tapering is on. Unemployment is being contained. Purchasing power parity is improving. World at large, visibly seeing America is recovering as well. The enlarged Europe has to go through divergence in terms of fiscal consolidations, monetary policy is centralized, and again, European Central Bank has done a commendable job to ensuring the liquidity is in abundance, interest rates kept low, QE tapering is not yet commenced. World at large is watching what Bank of England or European Central Bank is going to do for the years. So they should be doing en bloc together, 1.4%, possibly. That could be a marginal downward risk next year, according to IMF. Japan, while United States have tested and proven liquidity can sufficiently generate speed and inflate the overall momentum in the consumer space, Japan has tried. Trillions of dollars have been pumped into open market operations, and Japan economy is getting inflated. The most emerging economies, which are still contributing over 2/3 of the incremental growth, is getting redefined. Brick is getting broken with politics and economics not converging. Russia, with annexation of Crimea, is politically contentious at this point, and world power is redefining their pursuit of global governance. India is going through the election process. 5.4% will be the trend, and 6.7%, that is a cautious optimism again for next year. Brazil is widening the deficit financing. That's marginalized in terms of overall performance this year, less than 2% and possibly 2.3% next year. China, the single largest engine to revitalize, reinvigorate the global growth, is decelerating a bit. 7.3% this year, 7.5% next year has been the forecast. Middle East should be doing between 3.5 to 4%. Financial markets are highly volatile. We have seen the gambling in the whole process. Stock markets were ups and downs, breaking news, sensations, commercially cashed in, time and again. Politics and economics, sensations are being factored into the market momentum. We have seen, even current year, but for few economists, global framework is going through downturn, including NASDAQ or Dow Jones or London FTSE, or but for Paris CAC or Nifty is up, but for these two, the rest of the world, in the global space is decelerating. In the midst, what Gulf is doing, Gulf economists, 1.7 trillion, that's the number came out of IMF a couple of days before. 1.7 trillion, if you split, the single largest break goes to Saudi Arabia, $773 billion. That's commendable. Then comes 412 billion, comes for United Arab Emirates. Qatar stands next with 214 billion. Kuwait comes thereafter, 185 billion. Oman, 82 billion. And Bahrain, 33 billion. Summing it up, it's 1.7 trillion. In substance, if you look at the current account as a percentage of GDP, the surplus is measurable, $350 billion. Which part of the world you can boast about, which is 18% of the sum total in terms of surplus. If you extrapolate for next 2 years, you have a similar momentum being reflecting in the market space. 1700 should move to 1750, 1.75 trillion, 1809 has been the forecast of IMF for 2016. 18% current account surplus, 16% current account surplus, and 14% current account surplus has been factored. That's measurable. That's clearly giving us opportunity for us to be cautiously optimistic. What is this story on Qatar? How interesting and exciting Qatar is all about. What are the prospects for many of the businessmen who are here? What is this budget is going to give you? What are the opportunities in real space for contracts? That's very, very exciting. We all know Qatar visionary leadership in terms of governance has been a telling story. Financially stable, economically very prosperous, extrapolate for n number of years, it will be financially stable and functional. Extraordinary convergence of politics and economics and social governance. And the opportunity lies in recognizing this and also redefining ourselves with the change in market opportunity, change in risk dynamics also gets realigned. That's what we need to understand. Qatar itself, if you look at it, as I said, 213.8 billion US dollars should be the productivity for this year. We should generate not less than 54 billion as a current account surplus. Next year, 46 billion. Thereafter, 35 billion. The GDP will grow 213.8 to 225 to 239 billion for next couple of years. Inflation is between 3.5 to 3.6 this year and next year, perhaps again resting at 3.5. There will not be double-digit inflation as we witnessed way back in 2007. Population is moving in the right direction, 2.2 million to 2.4 million, thereafter 2.6 million in 2016. The recent pronouncement in terms of budget is an offshoot of 2030 vision. National development strategy has been well set in. Urban growth, urban development has been prolific in terms of infrastructure creation, airport, seaport, road, rail. We are going to host 2022, so the government is conscious of the infrastructure creations required. The hydrocarbon is going to grow in aggregate terms between 3 to 4%. Non-hydrocarbon will move to double digit. There will be deficit in terms of budget expenditure in terms of non-hydrocarbon, but they'll get offset with the diversifications as well as distribution strategy Qatar has embarked on oil and gas and petrochemicals. There's a huge momentum building, getting reset. If you look at the analytics, the budget that recently the finance minister has pronounced, very exciting, 218 billion Qatar riyals, that is $60 billion, has been the government expenditure for this year. 54% of the overall expenditure in the budget goes to infrastructure, hospitals, schools, and again, housing for senior citizens. Contracting sector is going to grow 8%. Investments will be 25% of GDP. And again, if you look at the project space, $72.4 billion will be the government expenditure, which will drive the change. How is it going to happen? If you look at the splits, 39.9 billion goes to transport. And again, power should carry not less than 3.6 billion. Water should be 9.6 billion. Oil and gas, very marginal, 0.7 for gas, 3.6 billion for oil. Contracting should be 9.7 billion. So the opportunity for us to look at Qatar space is interesting and exciting. What does it mean to you? What does it mean to the overall market dynamics? That's what precisely we want to understand. We have learned lessons out of the past. 41% was the jump in terms of contract financing when it comes to market space. Last year, financing, the banks have done over 23 billion. With the advent of so many projects, which are all pronounced, we have bigger opportunity for us to understand. But along with the opportunity, we also have to recognize how we will manage this opportunity. How do we measure the risk? To enlighten us, we thought it's appropriate to share this significant concept. I have spoken to the central bank governor, His Excellency Sheikh Abdullah bin Saud. Unfortunately, he couldn't be part of it. He has got a meeting with His Highness as we speak. But the banks are getting reset to understand the dynamics of this change. The lessons we have learned out of the past has been prolific for us to map this into business process. That's what precisely we want to share with our business, with our relationship as partners. To do that, knowledge management for the next 90 minutes and followed by dinner. I have a great team. Look at the quality of the panels. We have Mr. Vinod has come from Public Work Authority, a senior strategist. And again, panel of speakers consists of Martin Hughes from project management, contract management from Easy Harris. PricewaterhouseCoopers is going to talk about forensic accounting. When do we start forensic? How do we understand the contract management risk? How do we understand the project management risk? What are these opportunities? If you ask, Vinod, he is going to showcase extraordinary vision of this country and how it is going to be translated into actions, whether it's Shark Crossing or Qatar South or Doha West, name it. Exciting. Along with, we have legal risk which needs to be measured and managed and controlled. To elucidate, we have legal representatives from Eversheds, Danny, and also Richard, two representatives from legal firms have come to enlighten us, understand the change, recognize the opportunity, and ensure we manage business better than ever. With these words, I'm excited about the prospects of managing this evening, moderating this evening, as good as you are, to have intelligent inputs. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for your kind attention.